This is Talk of the Town, a weekly program featuring community events happening in and around Northeast Michigan, with your host, Nancy Smitham, and get the latest from Alpena Community College with Dr. Don McMaster. And now, today's Talk of the Town.
Nancy Smitham. My first two guests today are both from Friends Together. I have Judy Burns and Shelley Gibbs. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning.
Thank you both for coming in here. As you all know, COVID has changed everything. It changed things for us here through at the station. Thanks for wearing your mask in and following the rules, and we appreciate it. We're following all social distancing practices. They're disinfecting everything, and I know with what you folks do, it's very important that you stay safe.
Absolutely. We had to change a lot too at Friends Together. We make sure that our folks practice safe distancing, wear masks, and actually this week is the first week we've called our groups together again. One of our challenges is our facility is rather small.
Yes.
And so I had to find a new location for several groups. And I have to thank Thunderbolt Lanes for allowing us to meet in their large gathering room, and also JJ's Steakhouse for the same thing for the men. So we have rearranged our locations and our schedules, and just want to assure everyone that when we come together, we make sure that the room is sanitized, we wear masks, we have hand sanitizer, and we also take your temperature. If you feel feverish, we'll make sure that we check that out.
And you know, business had to change, but the business you do had to continue. So it's so hard. So Shelley, I know dealing with people who are affected by cancer, I mean, it was very important that you made the changes, but yet you still need the dollars, you need the fundraising for all the wonderful services that you provide in our community.
Right, and we changed a lot of things during the time that our office was closed. We were all still working from home. We did an online auction, which was a first for us, and it was a lot of fun. We got a lot of positive feedback, and it was very successful. And during this time, we were raising money to purchase a new van. So we had a new type of fundraiser, which was a drive-through fundraiser, and that way surpassed our expectations. It was fabulous to see the people come. They were coming in an hour and a half before it started, and they didn't stop. And it was lots of familiar faces, a lot of people from out of town just driving through, and we were able to purchase a new used van for our transportation services, which is great. And while we were closed, we checked our voicemail every day throughout the day. We provided gas cards to patients. We mailed them to them or made arrangements to get them to them. And we also provided overnight lodging during the entire time that we were closed. We were still functioning at full capacity.
Absolutely. Our staff is tremendous. I'm so proud of them because they went the extra mile from home, and our phones rang day and night, weekends also.
Right.
And we are committed to being there for folks.
Okay, so Judy, give me an idea of the groups that will be opening this week.
Okay, on Tuesday evening at 6 o'clock is the Tuesday Night Live group, and that meets at Thunderbolt Lanes at 6. Wednesday morning, Guys Like Us group meets at JJ's. The WOW group, which is for women only, meets at a private residence on their large patio so that we can assure that they have social distancing. Living After Loss, our grief support group, meets on Thursdays at 6 o'clock, and we're able to accommodate them in our center.
Okay.
Our other miscellaneous meetings will probably be meeting at the bowling alley in the large gathering room so that, again, we can keep safe distance. Rogers City continues to meet, and they're starting this week also, and they meet at the Presqu'Île Library.
Okay.
At this time, the Mayo group has been suspended until further notice. They meet at the Senior Center, and it's a time where it's very difficult to collect those folks together.
And Shelley, you mentioned overnight lodging, gas cards, and Judy talked about support. I know there are so many more things that you do at Friends Together.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I do the fundraising coordination. We all work together as a team to make that happen, and we have a tremendous amount of volunteers that make that possible. So we rally them all together, and we work together as a team, and put on events, and we're getting more creative all the time with new ideas. And then I also coordinate the volunteer drivers. So our driving just began again yesterday, was our first day back driving, and I have 4 transportation rides scheduled right now for the upcoming time. And we will have requirements. Our vans will be cleaned. We have disinfectant. We have an apparatus that you put into the car that will send out a cleansing sort of a mist, and Lysol wipes, and we have individual sanitizers that we will give to the patients to keep for themselves, and the driver and the patients will be required to wear a mask. And of course, if anybody's not feeling well, those rides will be, you know, canceled, and the drivers know the protocol, and patients, when they call, also know that protocol.
And Judy, this is an anniversary, an important anniversary of a promise that you made to your daughter. That's how Friends Together got started. So anything special planned for this anniversary?
Probably sometime in the fall, if COVID allows us, we might have a gathering. But 25 years, it just seems remarkable to me.
You were on the show when you very first started.
Yes.
You're one of my first guests. It's amazing.
Yeah, and Dawn would be ecstatic that we were able to follow her dream the way we did.
And there's a special fund that people can contribute to.
Right. It's called the Dawn Marie Burns Promise Fund, and that's what it was. It was my promise to Dawn that no one would go through the cancer experience alone the way we did 25 years ago. And this community has been so supportive, and I think recognize the fact that that journey is difficult, and if you can walk it with someone else who understands and loves you and embraces you, it makes all the difference.
And I guess just from my experience with Friends Together, I think we have just about enough time. I just want to say that, you know, the support groups are not doom and gloom. They're joyous, and they're laughter, and people sharing a common cause together, and it just makes you feel good. And I encourage people to attend the support groups. If you have cancer, if you have lost a loved one, or if you have a loved one with cancer, call Friends Together and talk to them and see what group would be appropriate for you, because you'll be glad you did.
Absolutely. And overriding even the support is the information and education you get from those who know, those who really know.
All right, give me a phone number. We're out of time.
Okay, 356-3231, Friends Together.
And thank you both very much for keeping this organization up and running during all these times. And I know it's been difficult, but thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'll be right back with some information from Thunder Bay National Marine Sanctuary following these messages. Hi, welcome back. I'm with Katie Wolf from Thunder Bay National Marine Sanctuary. Hi, Katie.
Hi, Nancy. How you doing?
Good. As with our previous guests, we talked about how businesses are changing, but business has to continue to provide the wonderful entities and services that you have in our community, and Thunder Bay National Marine Sanctuary is no exception. Last time I talked to you, you're working diligently to try to raise funds to keep that wonderful riverfront project alive, but you brought 4 questions or 5 questions today that you want to go over. So why don't you start with the first one?
Well, the million-dollar question that we're getting lots of inquiries about is if the Lady Michigan is offering cruises right now. And we are working toward that, but right now we don't have a definite date. So as soon as we know what we can do and when, we will publicize that through Talk of the Town and other types of entities. The same is true with the museum. Until we get final clearance, we're in a holding pattern. We are doing work internally and inside the museum to prepare to reopen, but we just haven't got the final go-ahead yet. So we're in that holding pattern, but there's a lot going on. Our staff's working very hard, and one of the things that people will have noticed that there's 13 of the mooring buoys in place right now.
Yes.
They've focused on those that are in more of the shallow areas so that people can paddle over them, whether it's in a kayak or a paddleboard, or if they want to snorkel. And so in the Alpena area, just offshore, there's 7 mooring buoys in, and then there's 3 in the Presqu'île area and 3 in the Rogers City area. So a lot of times people think that they have to, get all the diving equipment, and that's just not. We're really fortunate to have a lot of shipwrecks that you can access pretty easily.
That are in shallow water.
Yeah, and so you don't really even have to get wet in some cases.
Wow.
Like the Joseph Fay up in Rogers City at 40 Mile Point Lighthouse, it's kind of split, so half of it is on the shoreline, and half of it is out in the water. So that's a real interesting one to see. But
Oh, yes.
there's several. I mean, just right now, if you look at the 13 mooring buoys that are out, that would give you a really good exposure to lots of different types of shipwrecks.
And how would someone find out where all those are?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked that question. If you go to Thunder Bay National Marine Sanctuary's website, just thunderbay.noaa.gov, then you can go under shipwrecks, and then you'll see the moorings. And so you can click that, and it's live, and it shows you all the mooring buoys that are active right now, as well as those that aren't, so that you don't head out. And then you can get a little bit of information. You can get the GPS coordinates and things like that. So it's a great resource. I checked it before I came here today to count how many were actually in place.
And a great activity that's totally social distancing, that's for sure.
It is. In fact, even if you just want to take a cruise, go along the Thunder Bay stretch shoreline, or check out the Great Lakes Maritime Heritage Center. We have the shoreline, all the signage, the Maritime Heritage trail that's there, and there's over 100 signs out there. So that would be a fun daytime activity with, your kids, because the signs are great. They're really informative, and they're wayfinding. You'll see certain signs that'll show you where there's a shipwreck, parallel to where the sign is, so you can check it out.
Okay, next on your list?
Well, I think the next thing, we have a lot of programs online right now, and we have a new one that's coming out. I don't have the dates yet. It's just fresh today that Stephanie Gondula, our research coordinator, and Leslie Dort, who also works with Friends Together, but she's also a very good paddleboarder. They are doing a special program. It's through Science by the Seat of Your Pants. It's a program that is nationwide for educators, but it's also interesting for everyone. And you can go to the NOAA website again and get more information, but we'll be publicizing that. But they're going to focus on paddling shipwrecks. So what you can see, if you do just go by paddling, whether it is a paddleboard or a kayak, and what that experience is like.
Oh, perfect.
That's really building up to our Get in Your Sanctuary events, which start July 31st and go through August 2nd.
Okay.
Normally we have our free community cruise days and things like that. With this year, we're planning, in fact, NOAA nationwide is planning to take it virtually online. So there'll be a lot of events. So if you just Google Get in Your Sanctuary, you'll see the page that comes up. And right now, we don't have the Thunder Bay events posted, but we are finalizing those right now, and you will be able to see those. And there's a photo contest attached to that. That actually kicked off Memorial Day, and it goes through Labor Day, September 7th. So if you have some awesome photos in the Thunder Bay National Marine Sanctuary, and that covers 4,300 square feet, so there's a lot of territory there. We have had local community members who have won that photo contest, and then their work has been featured in an international publication, Earth is Blue, which is a coffee table type publication. It comes out once a year. It's absolutely beautiful. So we have had several entries, and we love when those get selected from Thunder Bay.
Yes.
So that's a really, really fun thing going on right now, too.
Okay, anything else on that list?
Well, I think the other part is behind the scenes. There's a lot of work being done on our website, and this is the Thunder Bay website. So we have both the Friends of Thunder Bay and then the Thunder Bay NOAA.gov website. That's going through a complete overhaul.
Wow.
Sarah Waters, our education coordinator, has been heading that up. So it's in some of the final phases, and we hope that will debut in September.
It was a nice website before, so I'm sure it's going to be spectacular.
It's going to have, NOAA's really been pushing having a lot more video programming, and particularly the 360-degree virtual videos, which if you haven't checked those out, you could go to our website currently right now. I think there's like 5 of those posted right now. And it really is magnificent. Whether you're checking out a shipwreck and you're, in the shipwreck and being able to turn and, you feel like you're right down in there and seeing that perspective. Or there's one, where there's sea otters swimming around you. And it's really a very cool perspective if you haven't done that yet.
So Facebook, Friends of Thunder Bay and thunderbay.org are the places now to find out what's going on, programming, what's coming up, and I mean, I know you're kind of in a holding pattern with everything, but thank you all so much for doing what you can do when you can do it. That's pretty wonderful. Just getting those buoys out, what a wonderful thing for people who come, and especially when you can access them by a paddleboard or a canoe or a kayak.
And one of the things with, getting your sanctuary is that there's a recreation part of it, but there's also the opportunity, we had a lot of people come in through July 4th, and I'm a walker, walk along the shoreline, and as a result, there's a lot of litter that wasn't there a few months ago. And so that's another thing to do with your family is, take a walk, bring a bag along, wear plastic gloves, and pick up some of the litter that's there, because all of that, we want to keep the plastics and the trash out of the water. And then, of course, things come up on shore from, boating and things like that. So that's another way, there are a lot of little things you can do to help take care of our sanctuary.
We're out of time. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Please stay tuned for Dr. Don McMaster following these messages.
Greetings, everyone. Welcome to Talk of the Town. I'm Dr. Don McMaster, president of Alpena Community College, and I'm pleased to have as our guest this morning Lee Fitzpatrick, parent involvement coordinator at APS and also director of the Alpena Early College Partnership. Welcome, Lee.
Thank you. Great to be here, and I think we've got a lot of important things to talk about. So.
We sure do. I mean, it is a very uncertain time, exciting, challenging, interesting, inspiring. What's some of the things that APS is working on to be ready for what might happen in the fall?
Well, a lot of options is really the biggest thing is we have to be prepared for all scenarios. We want to try and find a way, the best way that we can manage to meet the needs of each one of our individual students. People sometimes forget that we love these kids. In addition to working with them every day, we spend a lot of time with them. They're our kids too. They're our families and our neighbors. And we love these kids, and we want to do our very best for them, in the circumstances that we're living in today and every other day forever. So.
Well, that's a wonderful message, and it's true. And you model that. We see that on our end with your work in the early college. In March, both APS and ACC had to go all remote, and that was an historic endeavor, an achievement, I think, overall.
Absolutely.
And are your plans in the fall to have an all-remote delivery, or?
Well, we're thinking there's a few options for families to choose from. And we want to define those as best we can so they know exactly what they're choosing, and that's important. But we have a fairly new program called the Homeschool Partnership, and it's been very successful. It's run out of Sunset School. A woman named Jen Myers is responsible for that program, and she's done a magnificent job with it. And Homeschool Partnership gives a family that's not necessarily comfortable or wants to homeschool the traditional way, or a family that just isn't comfortable putting kids into a building right now, that gives them an opportunity to do what they want to do at home. But the Homeschool Partnership gives them resources and support. They have the option of spending some time in a building with other people, and so that's an important option for people to explore right now. Our second choice would be for families is to do APS Online.
Right.
APS Online is an established program that's worked quite well. You do need internet and a device, and it takes a self-motivated student. And APS Online is the established program. It uses the delivery is done by other organizations. So we buy a course from an organization. It's available K-12. And so many families have had success with that. I don't know that a lot of people have done that completely. People have done some traditional and some online. Right. And so fully online might be different than some people are used to or accustomed to. And then, of course, our first choice is what we call brick and mortar. We want people in the building. Again, we love those kids. We want to see them. We want them interacting with each other. We just need to find a way to do that safely. and that could look some different things. That has to be approved by the state, your model. It's completely dependent on what the circumstances are at that time. And of course, that could, based on circumstances, immediately transition back into remote. We want families to know that remote isn't necessarily going to look like remote looked like last spring when it was an emergency situation and we had to get immediate approval from the state and try and do our best to deliver. It will be more rigorous, it will be more time, it will be more commitment if we have to go remote. This will be our staff delivering classes, they're preparing with their curriculums, and we'll be ready if at some point we have to pull out of the building and go back to remote learning.
A tremendous challenge for staff. We have something similar at ACC, basically similar array of options: online coursework, remote for us, which would be a synchronous video conferencing methodology, and face-to-face, or some hybrid of those online and remote options. So kind of a menu of 4 opportunities. I'm sure at APS we have at ACC we have programs that aren't conducive to remote.
Absolutely.
And so there's some of our most popular programs: the line workers, concrete, manufacturing, welding, nursing. You know, these are things where there needs to be a hands-on lab component.
Sure.
And you've probably faced this challenge as well in some of your CTE stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. CTE, it becomes very challenging. Earning certifications that require an action to happen. You know, I want to tell you that we were very impressed with the transition that ACC made in spring, and the staff was so quickly able to change over. I was pleasantly surprised by the outcomes for our students that they had last spring. I was concerned on what changing the world around them would look like for them, and I think both the instructors and the students did very, very well with it, and it was a good warm-up to what may be this fall. And your forward-looking vision to do the video conferencing over the last several years really, I think, put you in position to successfully transition to that. So we commend you for that.
Yeah, I think the faculty and the staff absolutely, and the students rose to the occasion in a way that was ultimately inspirational to me. But you have also a really significant role for both of our institutions as the director of Alpena Early College, that partnership.
You know, the early college has been, we're going into year 7, and so I think it's really been a terrific marriage between ACC and APS, and kids have benefited from it. We had more applicants than we've ever had this year, and they patiently waited several months in order to interview, and we completed interviews and just overwhelmed with the quantity and the quality of the kids that are interested in taking part. I love more than anything when I get a younger sibling, because it means they recognize in the older child and trust me with another one. And so that's always a very touching thing for me. But we just have a great group of kids. I feel terrible that they are kind of on hold right now. It's a big change and a big decision, and budget-wise, we just don't know almost anything at the moment as to what funding might be like in the fall, and so we're hoping to let those kids know in early August. And as always, I'll tell you, I want them all, and as many as I'm able to keep, I will keep. So.
Well, we know that, and I certainly appreciate the funding uncertainty. We feel it too. The state's budget has been decimated. Yes. Both the year we're in and really the next year, even slightly worse. So it's smart business. I mean, it's necessary business to keep track of what you spend. Yep. We know that you will, and APS will provide the opportunity you can afford to early college students. We appreciate it. It's a wonderful program. We have about 15 seconds left. Anything you want to throw in?
Well, I just want families to know there's a couple things. Please feel free to go to our website. There is a list going up this coming week of who to call for different situations. So a phone number, an email, and a person that you can speak to for issues at building levels, for district levels. If you have questions about what the rules are, we want people to know that. And we want our families to know that we care deeply about them and their children, and we will do everything within our power in order to provide options that are good for them educationally. This is a perilous situation that's beyond our control. But everything that we can control, we're going to do our very best and try and educate our kids.
Thank you, Lee.
Thank you.
On behalf of ACC, we thank APS for the great partnership we have. And thank you folks for watching Talk of the Town. We'll see you again next week.
This has been Talk of the Town with your host, Nancy Smitham and Dr. Don McMaster. For a list of community events taking place in Northeast Michigan, please visit our website at wbkb11.com and click on our community link. This has been a Thunder Bay Broadcasting Corporation production.